the recording, but welcome everybody. We've got 3 chapters tonight. Did everybody get a chance to read them?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Well, okay, so we're going to start with chapter 3, and there's so much in here that is really good. I guess the thing that really kind of stood out to me is that the difference between why we yo-yo in. I mean, you can say it in dieting, but you can say it in anything that we do when our motivation is not. We're not coming at it from the right motivation. And then I think on page 20, it talks about why we, it talks about that whole yo-yo thing when we are motivated by wanting to change something versus by what we're wanting to create. So if we're trying to fix a bad habit or that sort of thing, it's a problem orientation versus an outcome orientation. So that as soon as we get some relief from that whatever it is we want to fix, whether it's eating healthier, whether it's losing weight, whether it's getting more movement in, as soon as we get a little bit less on that, we tend to go back to doing what we were before. And one of the things that kind of stood out to me is he said in here that so many people when they've spent months maybe dieting or even working to run or whatever like that, they celebrate by going out and splurging on food or that kind of thing. I thought that was really funny. So what did you guys see that made a difference? What did you see that kind of impacted you in that 3rd chapter?
I had a couple things underlined, like motivation, I guess, would be a big thing. Mm-hmm. It says on page 23, optimal, the most desirable, favorable, possible, the highest possibility there is. And I guess I don't really think of my health in that way, I guess. You think about other sorry, Kennedy's being bad. Okay. I guess I don't think of when I think of optimal, I don't think of my health in that way. I might think it more in my, the career I'm in or learning more versus looking at it instead of health-wise.
What about you ladies? I see Sarah's on. What did you think about that? Thinking about optimal health. What does optimal health mean to you? What does it mean?
And I agree with Shiloh. And this book is all new, and finding my health is all new, and focusing on me is all new. I'm always focused on everybody else. And so I think there's a lot that it just makes me realize that looking at myself is very important in making sure that I can take care of others too.
Yeah. I love that. I always go back to that analogy where they talk about when you're on the airplane and you put on they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first, because otherwise you'll pass out. You can't help anybody. And we tend to do that, especially as moms or caregivers or teachers, especially I think a lot of people that are attracted to the teaching or the nursing or some of those fields, we're kind of, maybe it's just, what the heck? Sorry about that. Maybe it's just that we think we're selfish by looking at ourselves. And really we're not. We're selfish for not taking care of ourselves in a way. I can't turn this off. I'm sorry. But anyway, so I love that. So what does it mean to you? What does optimal health mean to you, ladies? What would that be? What would that look like for you? Because it's going to be different for everyone, a little bit different. I mean, some people, optimal health is I can run a marathon, and some people, optimal health is I have the energy I need to take care of my family, and I feel good about the way I feel good about myself. I don't know. What does it mean to you?
And the older I get, it changes. When I was younger, optimal health was just getting through the day. But now that I'm getting older and have a family and have a career and all of those things, my optimal health changes. Right now, it's, not looking only at my weight, but also my happiness, and am I really doing what I want to do? And so it's a lot of that.
I'm going to mute myself for just a minute. I don't know. It's not my phone. It's that message I sent out to you guys. Anyway, yeah, I think that it does change as time goes by. What's different, but we get a different perspective of what that is. So, all right. So what did you think about that section where they talked about willpower? How it's not about our willpower, it's about what we're trying to create and our motivation. So what did you think about that? Is that kind of comforting to know that it's not all about your willpower? Which is crappy for most of us.
It kind of made me realize, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, Sarah, thanks.
Okay. It made me realize that I have bad habits. I mean, I've always known I had bad habits, but how I was a creature of habit and I didn't even realize it. So, for example, I'll think of some, I'm sure, but one of them is I stay at school too long because I like the Wi-Fi. Oh. So maybe it would create less stress if I had Wi-Fi at home. I like to read when I get in bed. And so if I look at my phone, then all of a sudden I stay up too late, or I get addicted to it, or I don't know, there's different things like that I didn't realize I was doing. Obviously, I'm eating wrong and I'm picking the wrong things I'm doing. Mm-hmm. But there's so many other things that I'm doing that don't add to good health that I was surprised of.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when you went through the assessment, we can jump over to that. We're just going to kind of jump around tonight. Is that okay? Because we've got all these chapters. Did everybody get a chance to do the assessment?
Yeah.
What in there has surprised you? Sarah shared some of her things that she's got some habits to look at, but what in there surprised you? Or, I mean, probably a lot of it was maybe stuff that you knew, but was there anything in there that kind of stood out for you?
It's all stuff I knew, but you don't want to admit to. You have the bad habits and you know what they are. You just don't want to admit that those bad habits are causing a bigger issue.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Anything surprising at all for anybody? I mean, it really is pretty comprehensive. It covers a lot of different areas. So
I guess when I did mine, I was shocked because I really consider myself healthy. Mm-hmm. I guess because I eat really well. I'm not overweight. Mm-hmm. On that aspect, I do know I have a problem with sleeping and with energy. Mm-hmm. But I was shocked that I scored in the unhealthy range, but it's probably due to those two things. I don't get good night's sleep, so I know that was some of the questions on there. But I think as Sarah, I think mentioned that you do things for other people. And I think sometimes I try to put too much on my plate. We live in a small town, and I mean, everybody here that's on here knows that the same people volunteer for the same things and you're constantly busy and don't take time for yourself because you're trying to fill that so that your kids can do activities.
Right. Well, and we're kind of indoctrinated that way. I mean, I didn't grow up in your town, but my kids did. And, when you're in a small school and those kind of things, they start right away. They want everybody to do everything in order to keep the activities going. And, is that a good message for everybody that, we can't do everything? Nor should we want to do everything, I guess. Because then you're so busy, you don't get a chance to smell the roses and that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
I go back to what Shiloh was saying about that. I think I'm a professional joiner. I've classified myself as that, I think. So, yeah.
Joiner, I like that.
I think we all have tendencies of doing that. I mean, I grew up with a mom that did absolutely everything. I mean, she was part of every club and every activity. And so when you grow up with that and then you have a family of your own, you just feel like you have to do that as well. And so, I'm not saying it's all my mom's fault, but I mean, she did it all and she did it all well. And so you want to be as good as that. And that's hard when you can't.
Do you think, are you looking at that a little differently now after reading the chapter and taking the assessment? Did it make you think a little? I mean, some things you have to do, obviously, but did it make you kind of step back a little bit from some of that?
Yeah, it's still, it's like I still am going to struggle with that because I always want to help and we always want to do more and we always want to have more. And our kids, like Shiloh said, you want to make sure that your kids have those opportunities. And in a small town, it's hard enough. And when somebody doesn't volunteer, then it's kind of like, okay, fine, I'll do it. Just so then your kids have that opportunity that they may not have otherwise.
Right. We're Sheila just joined, so we're talking about the assessment. We're kind of jumping all over tonight. So we were just kind of talking about anything that stood out to us on the assessment. So if you have anything that you kind of thought was, that stood out for you or that you felt like was an aha moment for you. Okay. All right. Well, let's go to chapter. So we talked about motivation in chapter 3 and how our motivation really needs to come from a place of what do we want to create. And I think, even the things that you guys are all the volunteering that you're doing and that kind of thing, if you think about it, you're really motivated in that's a great example of being motivated because you want to create something, right? So you think about it in that aspect. So now, let's go to go to chapter 4, where we're talking about fundamental choices. And I think that's kind of where where we can probably reassess some of the different things that we're doing. Because it's looking at what do you want to create. And so if you can take any aspect of your life and think about it that way, whether it's your health, whether it's your knowledge base, whatever it is, your family, if you look at, you kind of look at the big picture and think, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to create with this? And then you start looking at those, those choices that go along with it, those primary choices and those secondary choices. So some of the things that stood out for me here is, I asked you before, so what does it mean to have optimal health? And as you notice in the assessment, they're not just looking at how you're moving and what you're eating. It's looking at all aspects of your life, because optimal health is bigger than just those things. So are you, your happiness level, are you getting enough sleep? Are you, those kind of things. So what is optimal health? I think I asked that, but what does optimal health look like for you? What does it mean to be optimally healthy?
For me, I think it would mean I guess just being where I am not always like tired, and that I can actually enjoy doing things with my kids, because if I'm tired, I'm usually not excited or not happy, because your body's exhausted, so therefore it takes effect on your kids. So I just think that if I could change some things and make that better, I think that all around my kids would enjoy things with me. Not that they don't, but you won't have those breakdowns and that type of thing that we have occasionally, just because everybody is tired. And I don't know, just I guess changing that into making it more of family oriented and happy, I guess. Not that we're not happy, but just enjoying each other's company a little bit more.
Yeah. Anybody else?
This is Jenny. I think for me, it kind of goes back to what Shiloh was saying earlier. It seems like I don't, even have enough time to plan to even go get groceries sometimes. And yeah, I've made changes in my life recently that have really helped me be able to have a little bit of downtime and really focus on what's important in life. But just being able to really put your mind and focus on what is important and make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Sheila, you put something in the chat. Did you want to say something?
Well, I wrote to operate at a high level in mind, body, and spirit. And I guess what I'm thinking is I want to feel well enough in my body and have my mind, all my cognitive thinking facilities going, and spirit, so that I can do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Be where I want to be in life.
Yeah, it all goes together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it all goes together. Anybody else have something to add?
I want to be calm. I want to be stress free. I know that that's impossible, but I want to handle things better. I think, and I think I can when I'm more planful. And so that's my goal. I think that's optimal health for me, would be to not only be less stressed, but more planful. And I want to be like, I hurt doing things that I don't usually hurt doing. And so I don't want to hurt anymore. Mm-hmm. I want to be in shape enough that I don't have those twitches. And I know you'll probably always have them, but I think it's because I'm out of shape. So, okay. Yeah.
I like your comment about stress. Let's talk about stress a little bit, because there, if you think about it, there's no way to grow without stress. I heard a comment tonight, and it was about there's no compassion without pain. It's hard for you to be compassionate to others without pain. And I think that kind of goes along with this whole stress thing. Stress is part of life, but I think what you talked about, Sarah, is how do we deal with it? There's always going to be stress. Life is never going to move along exactly how we think it should move along. But some of the things that we do and prepare for, and how we're physically and mentally prepared and spiritually prepared, help us deal with stress. So how do you deal with stress? I mean, what helps you deal with stress in a more positive and healthy way? So what are some of the things that you do there? Sarah talked about planning helps with that.
Well, I could go on and on about that, because I have been doing some training on energy medicine. And there are some tricks there that you can do to help with stress. One of them that I actually showed the Taekwondo students tonight is called a smoothie. So when you're feeling stressed or angry, you just put your fingers over your eyes and then pull them out to above your temple, over your ear, and down the side of your neck. You're following that triple warmer meridian, is what they call it. And the triple warmer is what gives you the flight, fight, or freeze. And most of us are in that all the time. Our bodies aren't made for that. So we don't know how to release it. So this might might help some. It's so simple. It might help some people. You just try that. I actually made my grandson stop crying when he's sobbing, couldn't get control of himself. I did that to him, and he actually stopped. And he said, "What'd you just do to me?"
Oh, so you did it to him?
Yes. Uh-huh.
That's awesome. I'm going to try that on my 3-year-old grandson.
But they can learn to do it to themselves also.
Oh, sure. It would be a great strategy. So that, I've heard of that too. It wasn't called that. Well, maybe they don't call it that, but that's a great strategy. So planning can help us. Maybe not, trying not to have our plates overflowing with things to do, but we can't always do that. Sometimes it all comes that way, right? It's just going to be busy. Sometimes it's just busy, but okay, so let's talk a little bit on what page is this? 30, page 30, the foundations of health. And it talks about healthy eating, healthy weight, normal waist size, an active lifestyle, recuperative sleep, relaxation, a microenvironment of health, well-being, including social activities, limited stress, a sense of purpose and meaning, spiritual health, personal fulfillment, and a support system. So when you look at all those foundations of health, where do you feel like you're strong or strongest? And is there an area?
I guess me personally, I would say like oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was thinking healthy eating, healthy weight, and the active lifestyle. I would say were probably like my 3. And that's something I just kind of started with within the last year.
Cool. Anybody else have a strength area?
I didn't bring my book. Can you repeat them?
Oh, sure. Sorry, Sarah.
That's okay.
So it's healthy eating, including vitanutrient support, healthy weight and normal waist size, an active lifestyle, including a daily activity program, a walking program, strength, conditioning, flexibility, and agility, recuperative sleep, relaxation, a microenvironment of health, well-being, including social activities, limited stress, a sense of purpose and meaning, spiritual health and personal fulfillment, and a support system.
What does a microenvironment of health mean?
I'm thinking, I was trying, when I read that, I thought, I need to remember what that is. But I'm thinking that's just kind of the whole mental aspect about wanting to be healthy and thinking about, putting yourself in an environment that helps with that versus pulls you out of that. So maybe being, I think it's just the whole thing, being around positive people, mostly choosing health in the things that you do and that you eat and you think about. Perhaps I'm thinking it's kind of that's what it speaks to me, that because I was just thinking, what does that mean? That's what I was thinking it meant. That's what it means to me anyway.
I wonder if using non-toxic cleaners and
maybe
personal care products fall in that.
Yeah, I bet it does. Because one of the things that Dr. Anderson talks about in another book is how we live in this fishbowl of pollution in some ways. We have all this stuff coming at us, whether it's chemicals in our environment and toxic people and toxic just different things that we're kind of swimming in, and that if we can keep that to a minimum. So maybe that's speaking to that. That sounds good, Sheila. So
I'll be honest, on all of them, I mean, I feel like there's not one strength in my world yet.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I like
Um,
that. That's good.
they all need help, and I constantly struggle with that. And I think that's sometimes why I try to do so much, not only for my kids and my family and for my job and my coworkers, is maybe to fill some of those voids where I don't feel strong enough in myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can beat myself down very easily, and I can tell you all my weaknesses. But when somebody asks, well, what are your strengths? That's where it's, let me think about it. Let me ponder that, because that doesn't come to me as fast on all aspects. And the funny thing is, each month I teach a class about professional boundaries and coping and taking care of yourself in the workforce. And I joke with all the people that I teach, because I said I keep on teaching this because it constantly reminds me that I am worth that time and I'm worth that effort to take care of myself. And that's how you're going to continue to do the job that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I continuously teach it, so then I can constantly remind myself it's okay to take care of yourself on all those aspects and all those levels.
Yeah. It is okay. And we are worth it. We are worth it. We deserve to be in a place where we're happy and healthy, and we're the best we can be. And we forget that sometimes. I have 3 daughters. Some of you know my kids, but I think about the example I set to them, and that's really that was one of my motivations. Is what kind of an example am I setting for my daughters? I went back to graduate school, and I thought, this is going to set a good example for my girls. Getting a good education and that sort of thing, and different things like that. So, but sometimes I forget. Okay, let's look at my body image. What's my example I'm setting for my daughters about my body image? I think back when they were growing up and how much I talked about how much I didn't like my body, and I see that reflected in some of their behaviors now. And so we're working through that, even as, they're adults now. So, what we do is, our kids are watching us, our grandkids are watching us. And when we say we're not worth it, they're thinking that too. I mean, you talked about your mom, how she did everything great, but I bet you if your mom had to say what were her strengths, I bet you she would struggle with that too. Even though you saw all her strengths, she was doing so many things well. We look at our moms and we think, wow, they did all this. How am I gonna do that? And we do it too. But it's thinking kindly of ourselves, treating ourselves the way we'd want to treat our friends. You think about some of the thoughts, we'll talk about thoughts as we go, and you think about some of the thoughts we have in our head. We would never say those to anybody else, but we say them regularly to ourselves. So anyway. Okay, well, let's take that. Oh gosh, it's 9:30. Let me just give you an assignment. If you hadn't had a chance to go and do the assessment, please go and do that, because that tells you where to start. That's where you're beginning your journey. And it's not a reflection of where you're going to stay. It's a reflection of where you want to go. So let's go there and do that. And then take something in this chapter. It talks about the structural tension chart. And it says, okay, so like, for example, this one right here I'm looking at, it's on page 31. And it talks about, okay, what's your current reality, and choose something that you want to work on, that maybe you're going to work on over the next couple of months. And then talk about what you want to create. What's your goal? And it really talks about, doing it as a, being specific about it, using a SMART goal. So if you need help with the SMART goals, I'd be happy to talk to you about your goal if you want to. And then talk about the secondary steps that are going to take you there. So is your goal to be able to I'm just going to throw this one out. Run 5 miles. So what do you got to do? What are the steps that are going to take you there? So break that down. So if you need help with that, let me know. Choose whatever you want to choose. Take one of the foundations of health and choose one of them. You don't have to do everything. This is about small steps. When I work with a client, usually the first thing I do is say, okay, the first thing I want you to start doing is I want you to pull your water up to 100 ounces. Can you drink 100 ounces of water a day? You can't do that tomorrow if if you're drinking diet soda all day. You're probably not going to do that tomorrow, but you can work your way up. So whatever your goal is, choose a goal and set that up. Choose your secondary choices and lay it out for yourself. What are the steps that you're going to take? Small little steps over the next, whatever the timeline you choose is. So take that for your assignment for next week. And any questions before we go? I know I'm running a little late. No? Okay. Well, I'll post this, and you guys have a great week. I forgot what chapters we're reading, but I'll put that in the group for you to see for next week, along with the habits of health, along with this recording. So you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
Thank you.